Hello everyone, KosakChess here, of course it's me, and welcome you on the recap of round number 3 of Agasarov Memorial, which held in Dijon, Armenia. In the round number 3, I faced the young Armenian local player Benik Agasarov, FIDE Master, rated 2000, 2000, 2022, 2282. It would be much easier to read. Yeah. What can I tell about him? There is one fact about him that I remember that he played one of the previous rounds, also played with the black pieces, and he totally crushed the opponent by using some amazing tactical resources. He showed also his great calculation, etc., etc. So these things helped me a little bit to find out an opening I wanted to choose for today's game. Because, of course, usually I play the move e4, so I am really much into this open, tactical, and open and dynamic positions, etc., etc. But I knew that he is young. He's at least, yeah, he's young. He's 14 when the game is happening, and maybe I am not that old, but I am older than him, so I hope that I will have more experience than him. So that's why I decided to play maybe not the thing that I'm the most familiar with, but the thing he would be the most unfamiliar, and I would go for the such kind of positions which he will be suffering a little bit because of the fact that there is no real dynamic, there is no there's even not even a chance to open the position in favor for black pieces. Pure strategical chess. That's why I played the move d4, knight f6. Of course, it doesn't mean that after d4 we can't play open and dynamic chess, but the system I went for, knight f3, d5, and e3, tells only one thing: we are not going to beat our faces. We are going to play some calm and positional chess, which against a 14 years old guy might be a good idea. I came up with c5 and knight bd2. I picked up this exact position from the World Championship match, Jan Nepomniachtchi versus Dinkliren, where Dink played the same setup against Nepo in one of the rounds, and as I remember, Nepo played something similar like queen c7, not maybe in this position, but cd4, ed4, queen c7, which was already something probably new for Dink. They played a pretty calm and normal game, which he managed eventually to win. So, yeah, I also put some trust in this knight d2 ideas, but I analyzed the move knight c6, which happened in the game, and the thing d takes c5. If you're unfamiliar with these structures, you might even get quickly into some troubles. For example, if you play the move e5, which looks really logical, to put these both pawns in the center and open the bishop to target the c5 pawn, there is a move bishop b5, and it's not so easy to capture this pawn. Well, of course you can take it, but I take the pawn on e5, and remember, I took the pawn on c5, which means I am still pawn up. And if you try to defend the pawn by playing e4, there is always the move knight d4, and I am putting a pressure on the c6 square. If you defend the c6 square, I can already defend the c5 square, so I am still with pawn up. Pardon. E6 is a normal try because now I can't attack the e5 pawn because there's no pawn on e5, of course. But a calm move a3, a normal solution, because after the bishop takes on c5, I can play the move b4, then bishop b2, bishop d3, c4. Really easy development, and also I gain some space on the queen side, which might be helpful in potential endgame. That's why he played the move a5. This is a clear prophylaxis against the b4 move. Bishop b5, bishop c5, and b3. So a little bit calmer move, but it's okay for us to develop the bishop on b2. Of course, the position is equal. Of course, I didn't get any advantage after the opening. Black doesn't have any weakness at all, etc, etc. Maybe this bishop is a little bit closed because of this pawn on e6. But it's not about the advantage in chess. It's not about, you know, it's not always about getting the advantage. It's not always about out-prepping your opponent, etc, etc. I was really satisfied when such position appeared on the board, because I developed pieces in a really easy manner. I already thought that he's not in his opening files right now, so he has to think on his own. And additionally, there is no potential strike in the center. If he moves the pawn on e5, you know, this square is protected 2 times. If he plays d4, this square is even protected 3 times. So there is no possible way for him to open the position, to create the conditions for playing dynamic and tactical chess. Bishop d7, short castle, and knight d5. So he is hoping for some tactics like this to gain a bishop pair. After knight e5, bishop b5, he got a bishop pair. Although the position is still not opened, but with the bishop pair, it would be a little bit easier for him to try to open the position. There's no need to exchange bishops, especially as I have told you, this is the weak bishop on d7. So I came back with mine on e2, knight takes f3, knight takes f3, bishop c6. So now these bishops have the potential x-rays on the king side, but knight d5, I centralize my knight and I totally don't care. My idea is to play the move c4 one day, play queen c2, develop 2 rooks, and I end my development. And I don't care about the rest of the game. I just ask him some questions. How do you want to develop? What are you going to do? Will you allow me to leave this knight on e5, or you will maybe try to exchange it? He decided to go for it. He decided to exchange the knight by playing knight d7. Of course, I don't have to do it. But now I understood that if I take the bishop on c6, b takes c6, it is me who has the bishop pair. So now it is my, let's say, duty to open the position, because the side who has bishop pair in general needs to go for opening the position, because the bishops are really more favorable in the open positions rather than closed. So knight c6, b takes c6, and the move c4, as I told, maybe queen c2, maybe rook c1. I want to open the c file. He came back with bishop on e7, which is pretty smart idea, because bishop f6 might be in the air. I played the move rook c1, targeting the c6 pawn. Oh, of course, it can't be taken right now, but rook on c1 would be perfectly placed. He played rook b8, so he also puts the rook on the open file, and he tries to put some pressure on the b3 pawn. Queen b6 might be really dangerous, trying to just capture the pawn. So I took the pawn on d5. He has to recapture with the pawn on c6, because e takes d5, rook c6. Of course, he loses the material. So c takes d5, and a nice and prophylaxis way to play the move a4. The thing is that now if he plays queen b6, I have bishop b5. So I close the b file for his heavy pieces, and this bishop is really annoying because it is attacking the knight on d7. It is protected with the pawn, so it's not easy to kick off this guy. Instead of that, he played the move bishop f6. I repeated the position once: bishop a3, bishop e7, bishop b2, and bishop f6. Such tricks, of course, are allowed. there is nothing wrong with doing something like this. But this is also something like a psychological trick, you know? Because if you repeat the position once and you see that your opponent is going for the repetition, it is you who rules. Okay? It is you who rules. Because you can decide whether you want to take the draw, accept the repetition, or change the direction of the game. And he's nervous because he wants to make a draw, because you see, after bishop f6, bishop a3, bishop e7, bishop b2, He could play any other move, but he instead went for bishop f6. So now I know that his clear intention is to equalize with black, to make a draw, which is of course pretty understandable. I am higher rated player, he is playing black pieces, there's nothing wrong with a draw. But I knew that it is me who can decide whether to take the draw or not. I played the move bishop a3, bishop e7 once again. So if I come back to b2, we can expect the free tilt repetition, after which he can stop the clock, ask the arbiter, and says that after bishop f6, their position repeated 3 times. The arbiter then stops the game, and we agree to a draw. That's how in general it looks like. But I didn't. I played the move bishop e7. And why is this psychological? Because in his mind, there might be several thoughts. He might thinking, oh, maybe I will draw with black, so it is a good result. In the next rounds I have white, etc, etc. And then I might push for a win. Then I might fight for some norm. Then I might fight for some rating points, etc, etc, etc. And instead of thinking what's happening on the board, he's thinking about the consequences where the draw would be accepted. But he isn't 100% sure if the draw is accepted or not. That's why it is psychological. Because I can decide what might be the result, and he can just wait and think. You know? He's unsure what's going to happen in the next few moves. Maybe in another move we will accept a draw, or maybe we will prolong the fight for the next 30, 40, 50 moves. And if we prolong the games for this 30, 40, and 50 moves, his dreams about getting rating points, making draw with black pieces are already gone. So now he needs to retransfer his thoughts for the fighting mood. Because if you think about the drawing a game, if you repeat the position, you might think that, okay, we will draw really, really soon, and now I can prepare for the next days. But if I change the direction of the game, he has to change his current mood. It's not easy. It's not easy, believe me. Queen takes e7 and rook c7. So, yeah, putting the rook on the 7th rank, pinning the knight. Always the rook on c7. Always the rook on the 7th rank is really active, and we are really willing for putting a rook on such a square. Rook f8 happened in the game. After the move queen d6, I wanted to play queen c2, and the thing is that now I am in control of the c file. Rook takes b3 doesn't work, unfortunately. Queen b3, queen c7, but rook takes d7. I can throw in this move, and queen d7, queen b3. I am pissed up. So instead, he went for the move rook fc8, a normal move which fights for the c file. But I played the move queen c2. And still, it is me who controls the c file. I have 2 heavy pieces against his one. If he takes the rook on c7, I take the queen. I take with the queen. During the game, I thought he should go for something like this: rook c7, queen c7, and queen d8, trying to exchange as many heavy pieces as it is possible. But anyway, I would go for something like rook c1, queen c7, rook c7. I think this endgame is really pleasant. I can put my bishop on b5. And rook a7, rook a5 ideas in the air are still. There is a slight plus for white pieces. I think this is it's only me who can improve the position. So I was kind of happy of my decision, and probably after this repetition and changing the direction of the game, his decisions maybe were not the most accurate. So rook f8, queen c2, he saw that this endgame might be a little bit unfavorable for him. That's why he played the move queen f8, trying to protect this rook. I missed the word, sorry. Rook c1, so we are tripling on the c file, and rook c8 is the threat. He played the move knight b6 and bishop a6. Because I really want him to take the rook on c7, queen c7, and control not only the c file, but control the most squares on the queen side. So rook c5, rook a5 ideas. Maybe even still in the air. This queen is attacking both of his pieces. So putting our lady on c7 might be not the best idea in the world. Rook d8, bishop b5. The bishop has done its job. Now it is clear that this bishop has to close the b file. Rook b8, a really clever move. And imagine that I was about in this position to play the move queen d2. Right? Like at first glance, it looked for me really logical. Because now there is no defender for this pawn. So queen a5 is the threat. Queen b4 endgame loses because of queen b4, a b4, e5. a5, sorry. Rook c7, and this knight has to go somewhere on like on a8. And with knight on a8, with the pawn on a5, which is running, the position is dead lost. Probably I can even play rook a7, bishop c6. And he's even losing a material. So, like, my hand was just above the queen, and I wanted to move it on d2. But guys, he has a knight. He has a knight. Knight c4. Knight c4. I think I can even put this. No, not this sign. Not this. This. Knight c4 and it's over. Because this knight closes the communication between these two rooks. And I can't defend the c7 rook. Well, if I take the rook on c7, I lose my queen. If I take this knight by any of the piece, I lose the rook. So knight c4 would be so unpleasant surprise for me. And I am happy that I, literally before making the move queen d2, I realized there is knight c4. I am so happy. That's why I played the move queen d1 to transfer the queen onto d4 square. And also to not ruin the communication between the rooks. So queen d1 is much safer. Rook c7, rook c7. And this is probably the moment where my opponent shows his age. What I mean about this? If you are 14 years old, you might be a great player probably in the calculation stuff, in strategical stuff. In calculation stuff, in tactical stuff. In tactical stuff. You like dynamic positions, you like open positions, you like to attack the king, etc., etc. You like to use a lot of tactical motives. But if you are 14 years old and you play strategical chess, where your pieces are on the a7 6 rank, so they're a little bit passive, there is nothing wrong with black position because there's no weakness at all. Maybe the pawn on a5 might be attacked right now. But if you are 14, it's maybe not 14, but if you are young, if you meet a young chess player, in general, of course, it's not. There might be exceptions for sure, but in general, if you face such a young player, there is the thing that they can't sit in one place and just wait. They can't. They need to hurry, they need to move, they need to open something, they need to destroy even the position. But have a place and space for its pieces. That's why he played the move d4. And it was totally unnecessary. Because there's no need to play such a move like d4. Probably, he could just wait. During the game I thought that he might play rook c8. I can play queen c2 and queen d8. Of course, still I can exchange this. I can exchange the rook. He has to recapture with the knight, with transferring him onto d6. Because after queen c8, queen d2, now he might face a real trouble with defending it. Queen a8 and queen c3, flexible move which controls the c file and the a5 pawn. But with taking with the knight, putting the knight on d6, this queen covers the a5 pawn, it covers the c7 and c8 squares. So my queen can't really enter that far to his camp. Probably he's still worse, because maybe I can play something like, queen c3, trying to play b4, trying to create some passer. But after something like this, like taking, take, etc., etc., maybe he can now create his own passer on the d file without blundering a pawn. Probably it was better. Maybe we will check it in the future, but d4 is too optimistic, and there's no need for such moves. e takes d4, e5. Okay, so he opens the position, so even he can maybe regain the pawn, but the thing is that this pawn chain was really against my bishop, okay? Now if this pawn chain disappeared from the board, my bishop gained some space. What does it mean? Like these pawns on e6 and d5 were controlling the f7 pawn apparently. That's right. Without these pawns, oh, sorry, I spoiled one move. Without these pawns, if my bishop will transfer on this a to g8 diagonal, it can attack really easily the f7 pawn. Without the pawns which are staying on the light squares, my light squared bishop is more active, right? So that's why I am happy, and that's why I am against this idea d4 takes d4 e5 for him. I played the move g3 to make some luft in my king's camp, and yeah, it was all about saving my king. E takes d4 and queen f3 move. So I activate my queen. If I attack this knight somehow, because I want to do it in the nearest future, for example, he played the move rook d6, I played the move rook b7. Now is the thing, if he moves the knight, for example, on d5, I can play bishop c4, and you see that this lack of this light squared pawns is really useful for white, because this bishop is attacking the d5 square, is attacking the is attacking the f7 square, etc, etc. So it is active, and it can pose many problems for black. h6 happened, queen f4, so a slow, slightly improvement. Probably I want to try to put him in some sort of a Zugzwang, because it's not so easy to make to make a move for him. If he moves the rook, for example, on f6, he loses a pawn. If he moves a rook on d5, he loses a he loses a knight. So this move is stuck, because whenever it moves on the 6th rank, he loses a pawn, and whenever he moves via the d file, he loses a knight. So this rook is stuck. This queen is also stuck. It can't move on d8 because queen f7, queen g7 is a checkmate. So the only piece which can make a move is the knight. That's why he played the move knight d5, but now he blunders a pawn, queen d4. And you can see that the move e5 happened 5 moves ago. In 5 moves, he destroyed his position, he destroyed his all strategical benefits, and the open position favors my bishop, not his knight. The knight is rather likely to be happy in close positions, not the open ones. So in 5 moves, he almost lost all of his chances, right? That's why I think that the title is just correct. Maybe not correct. I am bad in this language. I don't know how to say it. But this title shows that sometimes the experience is more useful than the youthful, tactical resources, etc, etc. Knight c7, queen c4, knight d6. If he takes on b5, I take the pawn on take the knight on b5, rook b8, queen a5. I might get this second pawn, and the endgame with 2 pawns, being 2 pawns up, is completely winning. So knight d6, rook d7. If I have an advantage, I want to exchange pieces. Knight d4, rook c7. So rook c8, of course, is the threat. Knight f3, king g2, knight d2. So this knight is jumping, but he is on d2, right? So, well, queen c3, queen a8. I saw all of this and played the move bishop c6 because it was the move number 40. So I wanted to make a move to just gain this 30 minutes. Bishop c6, queen a6. Now he's threatening me a mate, so I came back, queen a8. So we see the second time we repeat the position, and maybe still he can think that maybe in some position, maybe he will accept a draw. He doesn't see anything. No, but I have just this calm f3 move, and my king is safe, and still rook c8 is a threat. So he played the move queen d5, and right now I think I have to be accurate, because in a dream position I want to exchange queens, because his queen started to be active, and it causes me some problems. I have to protect this f3 pawn, etc, etc. So, and I also want to, you know, use all of my pieces and create my own attack. But if I give a check on c8, king h7, queen c2, he has always g6 move, and still this f3 pawn remains unprotected. I played the move queen e3, trying to, you know, trying some ideas, queen e8, queen f7. And there is no good way for defending from it. If he plays the move king h7, I might play the move rook c5. Okay? Queen b3, rook c3. And this was like my, you know, intention. If he comes back on d5, there is bishop d3, and I take the pawn on the pawn. It is not a pawn. It's a horse. It's a horse, man. Horse. I take the horse. If he goes on a2, I still give a check and play rook c2, and I gain this knight. So seeing all of this, he captured the pawn on b3, and he fulfilled my dream, because I could already now take the queen on b3. But I decided to do it in a better version. Queen e8, check, king h7, and queen takes f7. As you can see, I still offer the exchange of the queens. But maybe not still, but threat also to take the g7 pawn with a checkmate. And additionally, I protect the f3 pawn, so everyone is safe. I get a pawn, and he needs to exchange queens. Queen takes f7, because if he protects the pawn, there is something like bishop d3. I'm not sure right now, but rook d3, queen f5, it should end in a mate. Probably it is a mate, yeah, it is a mate. So he has to exchange queens, queen f7, rook f7, knight b3, and now, you know, with this position, being pawn up, you can slightly improve. The only piece which doesn't take part into this game is the king. So that's why I played the move king f2, because the position of the king belongs in the center. King g6 and rook a7. I don't have weaknesses at all. This pawn might be attacked, but it is protected well by this bishop. So I don't care about it. But for me, it's not problematic to kick off this knight and take this pawn. Rook d2, king e3, rook h2. I knew that I lost a pawn, and now I know that the material is equal, but the activity of my pieces is superior. Bishop c4, I attack his knight. Knight a1. Okay, but what else? If he plays knight c5, I take the pawn on a5, yes? And I attack the knight and protect my own pawn, so, you know. It's still winning. So he played the move knight a1, hoping for some check, maybe. Rook a6, because I thought it is much better. King f5, and there, guys, it's a nice example, you know? It's a really nice example, because how the king in the center might be easily checkmated. I know this is an endgame, and you don't expect such motive in the game, but because I took the pawn on a5, which is of course not wrong, and still is absolutely totally winning. But this rook a5 needs time to convert, which is okay. Like if we can win the game in even 30 or 40 next moves, I don't care. I just want to win. But the thing is that I miss beautiful motive bishop d3 check. I totally missed it. And the thing is that after king e5, I thought, okay, that rook a5, king d6, I saw all of this, and I didn't want to put this king closer to my pawn. That's why I took the on a5 first, because in my variation the king is on f6, not on d6. But the thing is that after king e5, I have a beautiful... I have never seen motive like this. But there's insane move rook c6. And the thing is that I protect the c2 square, so he can't give me a check. And if he makes a random move, there is a move f4, king d5, and this rook is helpful to close the king in a mating net. Bishop e4 checkmate. So I had to play rook c6, trying to... sorry, not trying to. I have to play rook c6 to close the king in the beautiful cage because I make him to go on d5 sooner or later and bishop e4 checkmate. Beautiful idea I missed. The organizer after the game told me that they could go rook c6 and end the game beautifully, like by playing bishop d4 rook c6. I totally missed it, but it's a really brilliant one idea. Even though, as I told you, rook a5 is not bad at all. King f6, rook a6, king e7, rook a7. The more my rook is active, the better it is. King f6, rook f7, king g6, rook d7. Okay, so we maybe don't care about the technique. I just wanted to move the rook, maybe offer some rook d2 ideas, and push my pawn. King f6, a5, knight c2, king e4, rook h1, rook d2, knight b4, and rook d6, king e7, rook b6. So we can see that we do everything with a tempo. We are attacking, we're slowly improving. Rook e1, king f5, activate this guy. Knight c2, activate this guy, king g6. Now it's attacking both of these pawns. Knight d4, a6, rook a1, and the move bishop d5. Really flexible one because it covers the f3 square, and additionally it may help out my white pawn to go for an a8 square. Rook a5, bishop e4, so I am still controlling the f3 square and still controlling the a8 one. Knight e6, rook b7, king f8, a7, rook a6, so putting the rook on the x-ray with my king. There are probably many ways to win this game, but I have chosen, I think, the easiest one, a8 queen, after which Benik Agasarov resigned, because after rook a8, I can get a check, king g8 and bishop a8, and rook luckily covers the f8 square, because if I don't have rook f8 move, the position is drawish, but rook f8, king f8, and even bishop d5, cutting off these two squares and grabbing all these pawns is winning for me. So, you know, I am happy. I am happy because I even didn't show anything special in that game. I just behaved as a guy who is more experienced, who knew that is playing against the younger guy, the guy from the younger generation. I have chosen the opening, which didn't really fit to my opponent. I played this d4, knight f3, e3 stuff, and I didn't gain any advantage after the opening. I just developed my pieces normally and trying to ask him questions, you know? Such strategy might be also useful, and maybe in general I am not playing this kind of setups, but on this exact game it worked perfectly. Let's check the game right now really quickly with the engine, because this this record is already 33 minutes, so it's quite a lot. So I will turn on the engine. Now you should see it. Yeah. Okay, so nobody cares about the opening. Yeah, you can see that already in the move number 5 the position is equal. So there is no way about fighting for the advantage. a3, a5, bishop b5, b3, blah 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 blah. But who said that in today's chess it's about getting an advantage? Probably it's about getting a position which might be as unpleasant as it might be for the opponent. Bishop e2, knight f3, bishop c6, knight e5, knight d7, take, and c4. Okay, so pretty normal stuff. Bishop e7, rook c1, cd5, and b4. Okay, so nice tactics because we want to make a free pawn, and if he takes double, there is queen d4 and I win a material. Okay, I missed it. To be honest, rook c1 for me it was much easier to play. Rook b8, c takes d5, a4, bishop f6. Oh, and you see, after repeating the position, bishop a3. Yeah, it shows that after bishop e7, the game is even a draw. As you can see, after the move bishop b2, there is even no variation. There is this variation stops at bishop b2 because of the 3-4 repetition. Bishop e7, queen e7, rook c7, so activating the rook. And rook f6, so developing a rook is a slight mistake. Queen d6 is much better, and queen c2, knight f6. Aha, and whenever I move my rook on a7, there is rook c8. Okay, that might be okay, and putting the knight on e4 might be also, crucial. rook c1, queen b4, bishop b5, and knight d4. And knight d4, knight d6, so he can kick off my bishop, and yeah, even there the engine recommends to repeat the position. But instead he went for a normal human move, rook c8, queen c2, queen f8, rook c1, so normal development, knight b6, bishop a6, rook d8, bishop b5, rook c8, queen d2, yeah, queen d2 is losing, knight c4, minus 2.8, so luckily I didn't went on to this, rook c7, yeah, d4 totally unnecessary, but we have a pretty nice and gently plus 0.7. Rook c8. Rook c8 I calculated queen c2 and queen d8, rook c8 and knight c8. Knight c8 and knight d6. Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Although I still have a plus, so I can press the position a lot. But anyway, it was better for him than to playing d4 and e5. Yes, so the position in 2 moves increased for 2.3, but yeah, it's understandable. He's young, so he wants to open the position. G3, queen f3, rook b7, okay, queen f4, so zugzwang. I didn't mention that rook f7 is also a threat. I forgot about mentioning that. Knight d5, it works like because if you play d3, rook f7, queen d6, right? And I'm attacking both of these. So knight d5, queen d4, knight c7, queen c4, blah blah blah. Now a slow improvement. So we repeated the position once again. Queen e3. Queen e3 is a good move, okay. Queen b3 and queen e8, king h7. And rook f7 is even better, but... Well, but I was only thinking about exchanging the queens. So queen s7, let's say it's safer. Rook f7, and then the conversion wasn't that hard. Yes, and this bishop d3, king e5 and rook e6, beautiful, it is beautiful, really. But yeah, okay, rook a5 doesn't spoil the advantage, and then the rest of the game was relatively easy. Yes, and a8 queen, after which he resigned. So okay, it's that was all I have prepared for you. Let's say it was a pretty clean game. Maybe it wouldn't work out that well against a player who is, let's say, 2 times older than him, who also prefers to play strategical and calm chess. But maybe chess is not all about getting an advantage in opening, but it's all about getting into positions which might be most unpleasant for your opponent. This is what Magnus Carlsen told in one interview that he does, and he uses this idea. Maybe that's why he combined with also his great chess skills in general, because he is the best calculator, best strategy player, etc., endgame player. Like, he knows everything about chess. But these factors combined with this idea I was mentioning a lot of times there, maybe it led him to the #1 spot in the world. Okay, almost 30 minutes of recap, so I hope you enjoyed it. If someone reached this moment, please write in the comment section. Rubik's Cube, okay? If someone reached this moment, type in the comment section Rubik's Cube. I would know how many of you is really following this game from the first second to the really last moment. Thank you very much for joining me. 2.5 out of 3. So yeah, we have a really good result, and we are climbing slowly. Bye bye.